Yo, what's TheGIBBYNATR? It's currently the 4th day of the Blackout beta and I've just hit 20 wins, so I thought it'd be the perfect time for me to make a tips and tricks video of all the tips and tricks that I've accumulated over this time of playing and everything that I've learned to get these 20 wins. If you find any of these tips and tricks helpful, do consider subscribing because I'm going to upload plenty more content just like this throughout Black Ops 4. Right, so getting into the tips and tricks, the first thing that you want to do is to do with the character. Now, I want you to select a black character like Prophet, or you could use Firebreak, he wears a black outfit, or you could customize your own black character. But with these characters, you're actually going to stick out way less than you would, for example, if you use Menendez, who has a bright white suit. Now, Menendez sticks out like a sore thumb, and you're going to get noticed by snipers and just everyone. You're literally going to bait yourself out. When you're using a character like Prophet, you blend in so much. I've literally had it where I literally just walk straight past people. I would crouch walk straight past people, blending into bushes and trees and stuff. They're just way harder to spot than when you're using a really bright character. So use these darker characters to your advantage and just try and blend into the map when you're traversing the map so you don't get spotted. The second tip is to aim for valleys and rivers when you're skydiving. When you do this, you're actually going to pull your parachute out a lot later, minimizing the time spent gliding slowly with your parachute. Because it's to do with altitude, when you are at these really low altitudes, valleys and rivers, you're going to pull out your parachute a lot later than you would if you were, for example, gliding in over a mountain. So this is really good because when you are in that parachute, you are kind of like a sitting duck, and someone that's landed before you could easily just shoot you out of the air when you're in that parachute. So minimizing your time spent in that is really good, and obviously minimizing your time spent parachuting is also going to allow you to get to the loot before other people, so it's definitely a great tip to be using. The third tip is going to allow you to dive bomb straight to the ground. All you want to do this is jump out of the helicopters and then press straight up with your left stick and pull right down with your right stick, and that's just going to allow you to go straight to the ground. So if your spot is right next to the path of the helicopters, all you can do is jump out and then go straight down to it, and you'll reach really high speeds and get there before anyone else. The fourth tip is going to allow you to actually glide across the entire map. I have done this. So all you have to do is jump out of the plane right at the very start, and then you want to do exactly the same as what I just described, dive bomb, and you want to reach 70 meters per second. You can see this on the indicator on the right hand side of your screen. And once you reach 70 meters per second, I want you to maintain your left thumbstick pushing forwards, and then I want you to actually bring your right stick up forwards as well, and that's going to level you out. And then once you reach a level height, what I want you to do is just to carry on gliding at that height and no longer press up, and you're just going to maintain a horizontal velocity of around 65 meters per second. That is going to allow you to traverse the whole map and pick a destination that's really far away, allowing you to get the best loot possible and potentially win the game. The fifth tip is to pick up the ammo of weapons before the actual weapon. What this is going to do is shorten the animation time, allowing you to pick that gun up faster and start shooting sooner, meaning that if there are people landing next to you, you can easily kill them before they can kill you. This sixth tip is something that not many people know, and it's that you can actually sprint whilst looting. So as long as your character is looking down slightly, you can sprint straight over loot and hold square at the same time and pick up the loot. All you have to do is hold square for every piece of loot you see. So if there are two right next to each other, you are going to have to double tap it and get that on point, but you can literally just sprint over the loot, allowing you to get loot before the storm comes in, and it's just going to really help you out when getting to loot before people. And once you get used to this, it just makes the whole process of looting a lot more streamlined. The seventh tip also involves looting, and it's that you can actually just crouch once you get up to some loot to make it easier. Like if you can't quite master the sprinting technique yet, to make it so that the loot actually comes into your vision, you can just crouch down instead of having to look down, because I know looking down at the floor isn't the greatest when you're in a battle royale game. You kind of need to look up to see if there's anyone sniping you or shooting you. So if you're crouching, you still have like the same field of view. You can see quite far without having to actually look down. You can just crouch. So that's a really useful tip. The eighth tip is very useful when you have a gun full of attachments, but then you see another gun on the floor that you like more but has no attachments on it. what you can actually do is detach all of those attachments by hovering over the weapon with all the attachments on with the cursor in the inventory menu, and you can actually hold square on it, and what that's going to do is drop all the attachments on the floor, and it's also going to drop the gun, so you can pick up the new weapon and then equip all of those attachments, allowing you to have an absolutely stacked weapon of your choice. The 9th tip is that you can actually base jump off of buildings and objects that are high enough. So for example, the dam or construction site, you can literally base jump off of those buildings using your squirrel suit to just glide down. To do this, all you want to do is run up to the edge and then hold X, and that's going to deploy your wingsuit. Please don't just press X because you will kill yourself. I know a lot of my mates have done this, and I mean, I say press X, I don't mean if you've got your jump button remapped to another button, do not press X. Press whatever your jump button is. That's where people get confused, because in a lot of people's videos they're saying hold X. People are holding X, but they're playing on stick and move, so their jump button is the right stick. So whatever you've assigned your jump button to, I want you to hold down that, and that will deploy your wingsuit. The 10th tip is to go prone when you're looting enemy bags. So when you've killed someone, they'll drop their bag and you can actually go down and loot it. Most people just stand up and loot it, and they're literally a sitting duck waiting to be sniped. What I want you to do is lie down, especially if there's grass around. Lying down is literally going to make you invisible to anyone else. So doing this is going to make you a much harder target because people literally won't be able to notice you. Very useful tip indeed. The 11th tip is something that all seasoned Battle Royale pros will know, and this is to take the high ground on your enemies. So whenever you have the opportunity to get in a tall building or to run up a mountain, I want you to do it, because when you have the high ground on opponents, it makes it so much easier to win gunfights against them. And especially when the storm's moving and you've got the high ground and people are having to come up these hills, they're going to be much slower, so you're easily going to be able to pick them off. And a lot of like the hills and stuff in this game have really good like head glitches, like rocks and bushes and trees and stuff that you can hide behind and easily pick people off. You also have a great field of view from these really high areas, allowing you to have a massive just vision and view of the whole like landscape, allowing you to easily spot enemies, so you can give call outs to your teammates and take people on. And also, like when people are running up hills, they have a really crappy field of view. They can only basically see what's straight in front of them on that hill, so they most likely won't even be able to see you, allowing to just pick off really easy kills. The 12th tip is for more advanced players that know they can trust their accuracy to hit consistent shots, and this is to actually go for headshots when people are using body armor, and just when you can go for a headshot, just go for them. So headshots are great because they do more damage than body shots, allowing you to kill people faster. So even if they don't have body armor, that's already a bonus, being able to kill people faster and do more damage with less bullets. It's great in a battle royale game where you only have a certain amount of bullets, and if you don't find any loot, you may not get any more bullets, so it's always great to conserve your ammo. And then the next great tip for getting headshots is that when people are using level 1 and level 2 armor, going for headshots is actually not protected by that body armor, so you're still going to deal a great amount of damage to these people when they're using body armor. So if you can aim for headshots, go for it. But obviously if you're across the map and you can barely see their head, just go for their body and just try hit some shots off. But I mean, if you've got a sniper, line up those headshots. It's going to allow you to get those one-hit kills and really just annoy the enemy. I've had so many times where I've been shot in the head with level 2 armor and you literally just get instantly melted. But yeah, a really great tip to start implementing into your playstyle. The 13th tip is something that only applies to duos and quads, but this is to actually leave knocked enemies on the ground, because this is going to bait the other enemies in to come and revive their teammate, and whilst they're doing that, you can easily just throw some grenades at the downed body and pick yourself up a nice 2-3 kills depending on how many teammates come over to him. And it's just a really great method to get more kills. It's called thirsting. It's a bit of a scummy method and people hate it when you do it, but it is a great method to get kills, and that is why so many people do it. The 14th tip is to jump slide when you are kind of like in open areas. This is going to make you a really hard target to hit with any weapon, especially snipers. So it's a great method to do to make sure you don't get picked off. What I mean by jump sliding is where you slide, press jump, slide, press jump, and you just keep jumping up and down. It does actually run out in Black Ops 4. In Black Ops 3 you could do it infinitely, which was kind of OP. but I understand why they've done it for this, because it would be absolutely broken. But you can still do it for around 3 goes in a row, which is still very effective in making yourself a hard target. The 15th tip is another similar one that's going to make you a hard target to hit, and that is that you can use the grapple hook to shoot the ground in front of you, and that is going to launch you forward. It's a really great tip for allowing you to, for example, if you're stuck in the storm, get back into the safe zone, or if you're getting shot by snipers and stuff and you've got low health, you can easily just shoot yourself away and get out of there really quickly. Or if you want to surprise the enemies and have a quick push up on them, you can easily just use that to rush them and just put a load of pressure on them. Very useful tip to use. Shout out to Vols for this gameplay in the background of him where I noticed him doing it. The 16th tip is something that I was doing with my squad and it was really effective, and this is where you put sensor darts on vehicles and then you get someone as a scout to just drive around on that vehicle, and then they're going to bait people out on the mini-map with the sensor dart. Oh, that's OP. You can just follow us around with that. Just follow us around. That is such a good trick. Yo, I'm glad I'm recording that. Great technique. You can do it with all the vehicles, and you can also do it with the recon drone thing that you drive around, like the RCXD thing. A really great technique to find people and just get like more kills and make the games a bit faster, because they do tend to get a bit boring. They are like 20 minutes long, so this is a great way to speed it up and help you get into the action more. Yeah, so all you want to do is, it's very effective in quads because you can literally get one teammate to just drive around in a quad with a sensor dart on it, or in a helicopter. Helicopters are really good because obviously they can't get shot down, and then they just want to fly around the map, locate people, and then tell the rest of the squad where to go to get these kills. The 16th tip is very useful when you're in the last couple of people. This is that crouching is basically silent. When you're moving around whilst crouch, your footsteps are basically inaudible and no one will be able to hear you. Especially if you're playing against people that are using their TV speakers to hear the game sound, there is no chance they're ever going to hear you crouching. I've had this so many times where I'm trying to be stealthy in the last 1v1 and I'll just crouch walk everywhere, and I've had it where I'm literally just crouching underneath a guy and he has no idea that I'm there, and I can easily just sneak up onto him and kill him and get that victory. So yeah, very easy, simple technique to use if you don't have the dead silence consumable. The 17th tip is to actually use your consumables as soon as you get them, because most people say that they're going to save their consumables and never use them. But yeah, I want you to use them straight away, because you never know when you're going to get into a gunfight, meaning that you never know when these consumables are actually going to be useful. So I think it's better off just to use them, so that if you do get caught off by random people that come at you, you'll have that advantage over them because you'll have these perks activated. Also, things like looter and other perks like that are very useful to have right at the start of the game, so if you're activating them, then it makes sense instead of saving them up to a point where you should already have all of your loot and stuff. But yeah, just keep that in mind for when you pick up those consumables. The 18th tip is that you can actually use smoke grenades as decoys. So if you know there's enemies nearby and they're in, for example, a building to your left, you could easily throw a smoke grenade into the building to your right, so they think that there's people there, and then obviously that's going to distract them, make them focus on there, allowing you to flank them from the left, for example, and get some nice easy kills. So it's just being smart with how you use your equipment. You can even do this with grenades, just throw them in random places and it'll just put the enemies off. They'll be like, oh my god, who's over here? And it will just distract them. Obviously, if you can throw a grenade at people, you probably want to do that because you can actually get kills with it. But smoke grenades especially, they tend to be a bit useless. But you can use smoke grenades as well if you are in a bit of a sticky situation where you need to regen your health and you need to reload and you need to do all of this stuff. So just throw a smoke down and do that. That's kind of 2 tips in one. But yeah, moving into the 19th tip, what I want you to do is actually save your grenades up till you get into like the last couple people, because people tend to camp right at the end. And I mean, most people, the majority do, because that is the thing to do. It's basically a fight for the best vantage point on the map, and whoever has the best positioning is normally the person to win the game. So if you see some people that are in a really nice position, I want you to save up all your grenades, concussions and stuff, so you can put pressure on those enemies in that nice spot and just force them out of it, allowing you to get the advantage over them, making it much easier for you to win. The 20th tip is that you can actually regenerate your health and use medkits while sprinting. So instead of just standing still, sprint to like bushes and trees and stuff whilst you're regenerating to make yourself a harder target to hit, and just allowing you to get that advantage over your enemy where you're regenerating your health and getting to a nice spot, whereas they're just like standing still. Definitely a great technique to implement into your game, just for allowing you to survive for longer and get more kills. The 21st tip is to not tunnel vision when you see enemies. A lot of people see one dude and they like just chase after them. I want you to be a lot more conservative and a lot less reactive. I want you to play a lot smarter so that you don't get yourself killed. A lot of people, they see one person and then they just focus on them and chase them down. But the chances are, especially if you're in like quads or duos, if you see one person, there's going to be other people nearby. So just take a couple seconds to have a little look around, look in the direction where that person's coming from, and if there's no one there, then you can chase and start to deal with that dude. But still, I wouldn't recommend you chase people. In Call of Duty, you want people to come to you most likely, unless they're literally not looking at you, in which case you can chase them down. But chasing after someone, it's not the best technique, because especially if they know you're chasing, they can easily just get themselves in a corner, get themselves locked in a room, and then ambush you when you're not expecting it. The 22nd tip is to pick your gunfights wisely. I only want you to engage in gunfights that you know you can either get kills or deal a high amount of damage to your enemies. In Blackout, there's a lot of bullet drop because you're having gunfights at very long range. So it means that you're actually going to have to compensate for this bullet drop. If you don't know what bullet drop is, it's where you shoot your bullet and it literally drops because you're shooting over such a long distance that gravity means that the bullet is going to start coming to the ground before it hits your target. So what you have to actually do is aim slightly higher than the person that you're shooting. But the chances are, if you're having to actually compensate for the bullet drop, you're in a gunfight that is too far for that weapon. I would only recommend you engage in long gunfights with snipers, because the assault rifles and SMGs are just useless at long range, and all you're going to do is completely bait yourself out to the enemies. So just pick your gunfights wisely, only interact in ones that you know you can win. If you've got an SMG, don't try to be killing people across the map. Likewise with shotguns, just play sensible, play smartly, and you'll stack up those wins. The 23rd tip is to pick up all ammo types, because you never know when you need to pick up another type of gun. I mean, I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to pick up pistol ammo, but if it is for like other assault rifles and LMGs and stuff, I would recommend picking up that ammo, because you never know when you're going to find like a gold Titan on the floor or something like that, and you just want to have your back covered in case you do find stuff like that. The 24th tip is that you can actually run people over using the lorry and kill them. This is a very good technique if you're kind of out of bullets in your weapon, or if you're chasing a storm and you just find a whole squad just waiting to get into the new safe zone. You can literally just run them over. I've done this quite a few times. It's very fun to do, and it is actually really effective. You can knock people down instantly just by driving straight into them at quite a high speed. So yeah, give that a go with your squad. You'll have a great laugh and it'll be pretty effective at getting you those wins. The final tip is a very important one, and this is to land in areas that are not immediately close to the path of the initial helicopters, because all of the the majority of the people in the game are going to be landing at these high traffic areas, for example like firing range, like Nuketown Island. But I mean, it depends on where the path is going. If the path's going straight down the middle of the map, the chances are they are going to be going to those locations that I've just mentioned. So you may want to go to places like construction site, estate, or turbine. These places are going to have barely any people going to them, and they're going to allow you to get the greatest loot you possibly can. And the majority of these places have helicopters as well, meaning that you can actually get good loot and then push into these areas and potentially just use a helicopter to get into like the top 5 people, and then you're immediately getting merits to rank your player rank up very easily. And yeah, that is the best technique to actually level up, is to get a helicopter and just fly around until you get into the top 5, and then at that point you've literally already gotten yourself 2 merits to rank up your player rank there. So yeah, that's a very useful tip. But yeah, just land at these places. It's going to help you get more wins for sure, and it's just going to help you to survive, because a lot of people, they just drop at these really high traffic areas and they wonder why they're not winning. But most people actually do that is because they don't know how to glide across the map. But now in this video you do know that technique, so you shouldn't be getting caught off guard because of that. That has been it for this video, boys. I'm sure I'm going to figure out more tips and tricks when I get more wins. As I said, this is only at 20 wins that I'm making this video. I'm sure when I get into the hundreds I'll have some even more better tips and tricks, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you did find this video helpful as well, be sure to leave a like on it. It really helps me out. I put a lot of effort into these videos, so it just makes me feel good for making them. But yeah, it's been the TheGIBBYNATR. I'll see you in the next video, lads. Peace.